What is up, everyone? You're tuned in to another episode of the Fastlane Podcast, hosted by Game Over Tapes with gamer Alex as a guest once again after a long-ass time. How's it going, Alex?
Oh, it's going well. Hopefully your viewers didn't miss me.
Yeah, no, it's been 6 months. I mean, either like 6 or 7, because we recorded it in August or in July, I think. And you know, we talked about really interesting stuff back then. I don't know if you remember the topics even, but it's been a while.
I think it was about vehicular combat games. I think it was we talked about some of the worst games that we played, racing games. And then I know there was one more topic about like what our ideal racing game would be.
Oh shit, you passed the test. Holy moly, you got it. But yeah, we're not gonna stray too far away from the vehicular combat topics because right now we're gonna talk about Carmageddon Rogue Shift. We've been playing it for almost a month. I think we got the keys a month ago or something like that.
Yeah, it was like in late January that we got the keys. It was around like a week and a half before the game actually releases, the time that we had to, get out something before it actually fully released, although I was a day or two late for my review.
And I am a month late, but I'm gonna overcompensate for that. And, besides the video review I'm gonna drop this podcast as well to compensate and give more insight in the whole thing,
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and besides, there's the new update with the handling changes, which is something that really intrigues me.
Oh, yeah, I know consoles don't have access to that right at the moment.
What?
The handling update is just for Steam testing.
Oh, okay. Okay, good then. Did you try it?
Yes, I've been playing the game with the handling stuff, and it is so much better than on release. Which we should give some context to the people who may not know about how the game felt on release or haven't played it.
Yeah. So, when the game released, it was like some sort of, it wasn't an early build. It seemed like it was when the game just went gold or something like that. And it was really fun. In my opinion, I had lots of fun with it. But the handling model was really strange. Even more so in the tutorial with the OG Eagle, I think.
Yeah.
And the cars were like in a mix between hyper slidey and understeery as well. It was a weird mix, but I've been trying to see past that and keep playing the game, and I had fun with it. It's just the handling model that kind of fucks it up a bit.
Yeah, the best way I can describe it is that when you're trying to corner, you usually understeer just a bit. No, it's not too bad, but the oversteer is what really kills you because the turning speed for turning your wheels fully and recentering is way too slow. So when you try to make quick maneuvers, you can't because the wheel is just taking too long to turn and recenter or go from, left to right, for example. Mm-hmm. So it causes this issue where cars are not responsive, and also you can't catch oversteers when you start sliding, and you can't properly correct your trajectory. I understand what they were trying to go for. They're trying to go for a more heavy, realistic handling model, but in the end of the day, it just feels crappy because you end up having this weird mix between understeering but then oversteering, and it doesn't feel good either or. But now with the handling patch that they did for Steam, which is in beta testing as the time of recording this, the response time is so much better, and it makes a world of a difference. Cars are still it still has the same things where cars are still a bit understeery, and you can definitely oversteer, but you can catch the oversteer much better. With cars like, for example, the Red Eagle, it was very easy to spin out. You can still spin out if you really overdo it, but it's much easier to recover once you get into that, like, oh shit, I'm sliding and this is going to run into a wall type of situation. it's million times better. And this is really what the handling should have been when they shipped the game. And I think it was a huge blunder. Not considering the other controversy around the game, but just to ship it with the handling model they did, I think turned a lot of people away that were interested in Rogue Shift, as a game instead of, as like a Carmageddon title, because that's a whole nother controversy to get into.
Yeah, it's just like, I like the game, and it sucks because people are gonna go like, oh well, they gave you a key of the game for free, so you're obviously gonna like it. It's no. Like, obviously there were things that were very wrong with the game, and at least in the early stages and the early version we played, there were some graphical issues that I don't know if you got, Alex, but
No, actually, the only thing I really got, and it's only happened a few times, even with this beta patch, is the game has crashed on me, but nothing graphical on PC. I think that might have been like a weird Xbox issue for you.
that too, like the game crashed at a very specific race, in a specific location, in a specific part of the track. If I went too fast. Just if I went too fast.
Interesting.
And, like, there was a time where I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop playing. I go to the menu, go to the start menu, and you see the car just parked in your garage, but it was full of white lights. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like, there were strobe lights everywhere inside of the garage. I think I have a picture of it, but it was something that I shared in the Discord server, I remember.
I think I remember that too. Probably just the lighting reloaded improperly and caused that issue.
Yeah, and like the issues I found, for example, I'm gonna talk about the bad stuff first, so just like we finish off in a positive note, but in the final boss, which I won't spoil what it is despite the game already coming out, is that there were parts where I could see like black lines through the skybox, and it was something that was really awkward to see. And I sent you a video of what happened in that final boss, with the car just going through the ground and just spinning like at 200 miles an hour.
Yep, I remember that. I had some collision issues with the boss as well. But honestly, the big issue I had with the final boss is that there was at some point where the boss completely disappeared for like a good 3 or so minutes. And I was like, well, the run's over because I didn't have enough time to, deal with the boss. So I had stopped and I was just recording to seeing how slow the wheels were turning or whatever. And then as soon as I started moving after that, the boss came back. And I'm like, what happened? Like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I just had, and I think what caused it was I had to respawn because I had a clipping issue with the boss.
Oh.
But it was weird. It hasn't happened since. I've done plenty more runs after, and I've been able to beat the boss without any issues. So it might have been a weird fluke, but
Yeah.
it definitely was one of those frustrating moments in a otherwise pretty polished game. Like, there's some, weird physics issues here and there, and you can notice some of the zombies, sometimes like if they're standing or like crouching down on the ground, sometimes they'll pop up instantly without an animation, like little things like that.
Oh my god.
For a mostly polished game, like, it was pretty disappointing that happened, but that was really the big thing that happened with me in the final boss.
Yeah, no, I never saw that problem with the zombies. The zombies were pretty much okay to me, but let me just give a quick summary of Carmageddon. I should have done this at the start, but in case you live under a rock or inside of a piece of Tupperware and you don't know anything about racing games in the 90s, Carmageddon was this racing game where you could, like, finish the races and win in different ways. For example, finishing the race first, which is the most boring one, running people over, or simply destroying your opponents with your car, or power-ups that are scattered around the maps of the game. And the games, like, across the years and the decades, kept following the same formula, but it's been 10 years since the last one dropped, so this new one is a whole different thing compared to the rest of the games. Now Carmageddon is a roguelite. And, the humans have been swapped with zombies, which is not the first time that has happened. I don't know if you remember what happened with Carmageddon 64.
I imagine, if I remember correctly, it was something that Nintendo was like, no, you have to censor it, and it has to be zombies. But even a lot of like re-releases or releases of the first Carmageddon had to be censored with zombies or robots because of countries saying like, hey, we don't allow this type of content as well. So it was a pretty controversial game. Although I wasn't alive to know about this. This is hearing about it years later, of course.
Yeah, no, like, me neither, but I played Carmageddon 64 when I was going, like, in... This was dating back to 2014 or something like that. And I played Carmageddon 2 and Carmageddon 64. But let me tell you, the German version of Carmageddon 64 had pedestrians replaced with dinosaurs. Just look at the chat. Look at what I just sent you.
I have never heard about that. That is weirdly bizarre. I've not heard about that censorship.
It was really fucking crazy because, like, you see a Triceratops, a Velociraptor, and a one-eyed mammoth, and it's funny because the Carmageddon 64 game is so fucking shit. It's so bad. Like, when you crash, when you run over people, the people don't have ragdolls, obviously, but they just phase through the ground doing, like, a really simple, rudimentary animation, and it's just really funny. And, it's really funny to see that this happened again, not in a censorship kind of way, just in a lore-changing kind of way, It's really fucking weird, though, but I don't mind it. It's fine. It's justified.
It's interesting because I have a different take, and it's not like I'm a diehard Carmageddon fan. Like, really the only one I played extensively was Max Damage because I hadn't played the older Carmageddon games.
Yes.
And when I made my video for Rogue Shift, I did try out the first Carmageddon game, and it, quite fun, to say the least.
Yeah.
But even so, even without being a diehard fan of the series, I just didn't like that they went for zombies. First of all, I don't really care for zombies in any type of media, whether it's like videos, movies, TV shows, video games. I just find it's just overdone, and most of the time it's not interesting.
Oh, wow.
To me. So when they had the zombies, it's like I'm pretty indifferent with the inclusion of zombies, but being that this is Carmageddon, I think what they could have done is got some like brownie points for just having humans, because then that would have been much more along the lines of Carmageddon while still having that different gameplay structure and campaign structure. And I think fans would have been a little bit more open. It's like, okay, well, we're still running over humans, so that's like Carmageddon. But if you just look at it like how it is, Rogue Shift is just a complete spin-off that has pretty much almost nothing to do with the original Carmageddon games. So I think that's another area where they kind of shot themselves in the foot, where they could have given, some, like I said, brownie points, or given something to the OG fans of the series.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, at first, I was like, this still has the Carmageddon feel to it. This is still Carmageddon to me. But then I kept playing it, and I was like, Alex was kind of right. This doesn't feel really Carmageddon. Just like in name and references and car designs and stuff like that. The cars to me are the only thing that are Carmageddon coded. Kind of grasping at straws. It's like a mix between Mad Max and Carmageddon. But they're still really good. And, the game itself is really solid. I think in the video I gave it either a 7 or an 8. Either or. But I think a really perfect score to give it is a 7.5. 7.5 out of 10 would be perfect to me. And overall, the game didn't have the Carmageddon philosophy and ethos. Because you see the names of previous characters from the franchise using completely different cars. That is something that rubbed me off the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the characters were completely fleshed out, very interesting lore, and even the older games or Max Damage, but just having, like, you know, I think it was literally Max Damage driving the Eagle, but it's not even red. A lot of times when you see him, in the races, it's just kind of like, this is just feels like a very cheap way to try to incorporate the Carmageddon, identity into the series.
Yeah, it reminds me, this is a really fucking weird connection, but it reminds me of Flat Out 4 with the characters, which are
Oh God,
the same model but with different props on their hats. And
I hated that. It was the most tacky thing about that game that you could notice right away. Like, they didn't
yeah,
even try. You know what I mean? Like, you can see switching through the characters that it's just the same model reused.
yeah, they were just like Flat Out 4 NFTs, basically. They should have done that. Not gonna lie, they missed that. But yeah, no, it doesn't have the same essence. It's something different, which I appreciate them doing. But I hope that whatever they do next with Carmageddon is something more returning to the roots of the franchise. But still, this was a really fun game. I love the music. The tracks are something that are out a split second, in my opinion. Like, they're so good.
Yeah, I think if we just view it as the game instead of trying to, say, well, this isn't Carmageddon, this and that, it's a really great game. And, I'll fight people on that, because I had some people questioning, like, my taste in the comments, being like, oh, how can you like this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I love games like Full Auto and Gas Guzzlers, and a lot of this game is in line with that. Not totally, because I still think something like Full Auto and Gas Guzzlers are way better games than Carmageddon Rogue Shift. But the essence of that car combat is there with, like, the weapons and the physical combat and such. And they did a really good job with the roguelite campaign as well.
Oh, yes.
I think there's obviously some things it could improve on. Overall, like, the content could be better in terms of just the amount of it. Like, there's a lot of tracks and stuff, but there's not a lot of bosses before the final boss, so those end up repeating. But other than that, like, it's great to see something that is different than really anything that we have for racing games right now. Other than, like, indies, and even then, indies have been few and far between when it comes to this weaponized vehicular combat.
True.
We just don't get games like Carmageddon Rogue Shift. And it's a shame that people are getting so hung up that it has a Carmageddon name that they can't appreciate for, what it is, and are going around and review bombing or giving people shit because it's like, oh, it's not Carmageddon, how can you like this, or whatever. And it's like, I understand you guys are upset. I'd probably be upset the same way if Burnout was turned into something that it wasn't, but I also think it's not fair when you're leaving negative reviews, and the only thing the negative review is about is how the game's not Carmageddon. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we know that. The developers have said it's a spinoff. If you watch the developer reviews, they realize that, the old formula, or I should say the Carmageddon formula, it's not technically old, but you know what I mean. But the Carmageddon formula is just dated in the sense of what new players are looking for. So, I understand why they went off to the spin-off route, because Max Damage, as much as, the fans, want to say that game's amazing and stuff, it didn't sell well. And at the end of the day, it's like, they're not going to do the same thing again, because it's just not going to sell well again. And who knows? I don't know how well Carmageddon Rogue Shift sold. It might have not sold great either, but hey, at least they're trying something, and maybe it could be a springboard for, like you said, a game that incorporates more of the Carmageddon formula, but still as a roguelite, which I would love to see.
Oh, that's a good idea, honestly. Like, in this game, they have some pretty neat ideas as well. It's just, the execution in some of them is kind of off, And, wait, sorry, there are cars honking outside.
It's Max Damage coming after you.
Oh my fucking god. But I hope he doesn't come in at the end of the podcast. Hopefully. But, it has a really nice community behind it. And the Discord server, there's some really good discussion, fun people to like really talented people in there who make art, drawings, but there's the other part of the community on YouTube, mostly under the reviews, which are really annoying. When you were talking about the Carmageddon formula, my mind went back to the video I made about the canceled Carmageddon games, and you see a pattern in all of them, and all of them were trying the same thing, but with a twist to it. One of them was gonna be a TV show. Another one of them was gonna be in the 50s or in an Art Deco aesthetic, kind of like Bioshock or something like that. They try to use the same formula but change the things a bit. And I don't know, I think that you're right, that the formula has been kind of stale as well.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you still look at the Carmageddon formula, it's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm not the biggest fan of max damage is just because of the vehicle handling. I find the cars way too floaty, and they feel like they're on ice. And to me, it's pretty much like unplayable with the base game handling. But if you get like the the rework mod, I can't remember the name exactly, but it improves like a lot of things, a lot of little issues the base game had, and along with the handling, you really get to appreciate how fun the Carmageddon formula is, because you don't have to do the race, like you said. You could go around and just smash everyone up, or try to get all the peds in the level. It's very interesting. It's very open-ended, and that's something that we see from time to time with racing games, where you have a little bit more of an open-ended career structure. Others are more structured. It's not a bad thing, but it does, in this day and age, I would imagine people looking for more directed experiences, especially if we think of something like Forza Horizon, right? Like everyone's like, okay, we want the progression back. We want the progression, right? And it's not like Carmageddon didn't have progression, but being that it's more open-ended and kind of this sandbox-esque game, it doesn't have that same progression or whatever. So I can understand why they went like the complete opposite and made the most progression-heavy game with the roguelite. And like I said, it's executed very well, and that's pretty much the strongest point of that game is its roguelite campaign, the perks, the weapons, how you can combine that together. Every run is different, essentially, because yes, you might be using the same car as another run, but then, well, what if I do this weapon instead? Or what if I do this perk? And then you find out that one of the runs you were an absolute speed demon, but then this next run, you're just blowing the shit out of people with machine guns or rockets, and you're more damage focused. And it's enough of a difference to be like, wow, I'm not just doing a race after race after race anymore. There's more thought and planning into it.
Yeah, it's really cool because there's like infinite possibilities with the perks, the weapons, the cars you choose, and every run is different in a way. And I remember No More Mercy YouTube, shout out to him, he recommended me to use a big ass car with a stinger for a whole run, and I wanted to kill myself. It was really frustrating, but in the end, it was worth it. It's really good, and I think the replayability relays on you using all the cars in the game in different runs, and that's what I'm going for at the moment. Because the first time I played that game, where I had it downloaded and played it, I played for like 4 hours. It was that addictive, and I liked it a lot.
That's pretty crazy. I don't usually sit down and play games for that long, but I think I did spend like a good couple of hours at least playing Rogue Shift.
Yeah, no, it's just like, I was like, okay, I need to like soak in the entirety of the game as the most I can. And it's a really fun experience and a nice little package with a tiny little neat bow on top of it. It's really good, and it's decent. I would just say the same thing as you. Get it on sale. You should get it on sale, basically.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great gameplay, and even content-wise, even though there could be more content. but just some of the little more, baffling things like the physics issues or the handling at the moment, since it's not a patch available to everyone, right? As of recording. But even then, it's like, I think it's a game that would be much better if it's set in like a $20 to $30 price range, especially considering that they omitted things like split screen and online multiplayer. And I know people always beg for that stuff, but at the end of the day, the multiplayers for these games are really dead, like all the time.
Yeah, no.
So I understand why they did it, and I don't hold, that against them. But if you're looking at it as like a general racing game or even vehicular combat consumer, it does kind of, put a damper on the game. And I can see why people, even at $40, are like, this isn't worth the money. So just get it on sale, because especially after the handling, I bet that once the handling patch goes out, the game is probably going to go on sale within a few months of that. So it's a perfect time to pick it up with a little bit more fixes or whatever. And, go from there.
Yeah, and hopefully they have a long... What do you call them? Like the fuck, Dirt 5 did it. The road work?
Oh, like the roadmap. They have a pretty basic roadmap at the moment. It's like adding in like a car or a camera view and stuff like that. I think they probably weren't expecting the amount of backlash they got for the handling, so I think it might have thrown some things off, all things considered. But, I mean, I don't know. They haven't talked much about post-launch content support, so we'll have to see if they do something. I would like to see DLC or an expansion or whatever, because there's a lot more they could do. Like, for example, something I would really, really like to see is like a deathmatch type of mode. Team deathmatch, free-for-all. That, I think, would be a good way to bring in kind of that more openness of Carmageddon, except in a more, I wouldn't say linear, but a more, like, focused, well, you have to just get kills, whether that's weapons or using side bashes or whatever. It would work perfectly, especially with the new handling. You could throw those cars around a lot better than the old handling. I would love to see a mode like that. So maybe that could come down along the line. Maybe that could be for a second game if that happens, but it's hard to say where that sits right now.
Yeah, no, that's honestly a good idea. They should focus more on the vehicular combat aspect as well. I would love to see more of that. I mean, they focus on it really well, but something more visceral, I would love to see that. And, you were talking about them probably adding a new car or something like that. As long as it doesn't handle like the Shelby, everything's gonna be alright.
Oh my god. I haven't tried that car with the new handling patch, but on the old handling, it's undrivable. It's just undrivable. I'm sorry. That car is not fun to drive.
Dude, I lasted one elite race, and it's not a skill issue. I would just go in a wide-ass turn. It's not a tight turn where you could easily oversteer and just wipe out. But it was a wide-ass turn, and I was, like, just spinning out. The car was just slowly rotating and just facing backwards. And I was like, this car is not very drivable. And I've seen people in the Discord saying, like, holy shit, I just finished a run with this car. I can't believe I did that.
I can't believe they've done it either. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing a run with that car. Or even the something like the Hawk GT, I had a bunch of problems with that. But now with the new handling, that car is, like, viable. And I think I did win a run with the Hawk GT, which I don't think I would have been able to stomach with the old handling.
Yeah, nah, but, like, who the GOAT is? The Subaru.
Oh
That
my
car
God.
is
Everyone,
the fucking...
I can't get over it. Everyone is like simping over that car. It's like, it's so funny. And I don't blame them. It's actually, even before the new handling, it's the best handling car, and it's
Yeah.
the slidiest out of all of them too. So you can hold like a really good drift with it that you can't with the other cars, because they would just oversteer or bog down, where that car doesn't do it as much. So I understand it, but man, is it a glass cannon of a car. Like, you really need to focus on getting your like defense up, or you just get like completely crushed.
Yeah, no, it's not only the looks. I love the stats of the car, like the way it handles, the way it just takes turns or drifts. And even though it's kind of the weaker side, I think the Subaru is a really solid pick for a run. And I would recommend you, if you're gonna play this game, just buy that car when you have enough Bitcoins. Just go for that car. That car is amazing. Upgrade as many weapons as you can, and have fun. And the crazy thing about the soundtrack?
What is it?
There were some Argentinian composers in there, which is really wow. It's crazy. And all of the composers, they were Italian composers as well. All of them did a great job. They nailed the Carmageddon feel.
Yeah, well, getting to the music, that's actually something I had a criticism about as well, is if you listen to the songs individually, they're great. The songs individually are great, but the problem is that it's just that one type of, like, heavy metal sound. Mm-hmm. So I found that even though it's nice that it's dynamic, and it's nice that there's, quite a bit of songs, it just sounds very samey after a while. But mind you, a lot of racing game soundtracks suffer from that. Trail Out, Burnout 3, Ridge Racer Unbounded, even though I love that soundtrack, same thing. It gets a little too samey. So it's something that I don't like about Rogue Shift, but it's not like the soundtrack is bad. It just unfortunately can get a little too similar sounding.
Well, in my end, I like it. It's just that I've been used to the music in racing games. I've listened to the worst of the worst. Trust me. Super Street the game is up there when it comes to the worst racing game soundtracks. Dude, I talked about this with Fast Minor, and Street Racing Syndicate is another racing game where the soundtrack is so fucking shit. And not only that, there's few songs, so they're repeating over and over and over and over and over again. And you saw me play that shit on stream, and you saw me slipping away from sanity. It's just, I know my shit when it comes to soundtracks, and, in my opinion, this game has a really solid soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad we didn't get any fucking weird, like that Domino's commercial kind of rock in this game. I'm so fucking glad we didn't get that type of rock in here.
What do you mean? You don't want, like, upbeat commercial music for your racing game soundtrack?
Fuck
off.
Come
on, man.
It's just, oh, yeah, I still hear it in my head, the one that goes, it's just,
yeah, because it sticks out like a sore thumb in Super Street. Like, how can you not hear it?
That game is a sore thumb on itself. But anyways, we're not going to talk about that shitty game here. We're going to finish off the podcast by saying that, Carmageddon Rogue Shift, as of now, is a really solid game. As the time of recording this, they're adding, the bonnet camera and the handling model. I think they're doing more bug fixes, so the gameplay is as smooth as possible, without any weird, quirky physics moments. So, I think that's all about it with the updates.
Yeah, as of now, we'll have to see what they do going forward, and hopefully it's something good. I just don't want this to be another racing game that fizzles out and people don't talk about it in like 2 years or so.
Yeah, hopefully more people cop it, even if it's on sale, so they get to experience a really fun roguelite experience in a racing game. So, Alex, I want to thank you for being in the podcast once again. It's been great having you.
Yeah, I enjoy coming on. You gotta have me on more so we can yap about vehicular combat games, because who else is perfect to yap about vehicular combat games like me?
Yeah, of course, and I have an idea. When Screamer comes out, we gotta record a podcast on it.
Oh, that would be a good one. I'm on vacation when it comes out. I'm going to be in Puerto Rico, so we'll see how that's going to work out.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Nice. That's cool. Congrats. I'm sorry for dragging the podcast episode, but I saw the opening of that game, and brother, that game is has a lot of essence, and it hasn't come out yet.
I've been trying to avoid some of the more story stuff so I could be surprised, but I mean, I've been pretty hyped for the game, even with its first initial shitty trailer, because that first gameplay reveal was not good, but they've come a long way. It looks really good.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like another Xenon Racer. I thought it was gonna be another one of those games. Thankfully...
Xenon Racer wish it had this much sauce.
Oh, for real. For real. Like, and same with, like, I don't know if you heard of this Nintendo Switch game, but Race the Future.
That game's on PC as well. I know that, and also played it. It's mid, to say the least.
Oh, it's sad that a lot of Ridge Racer-esque type games are not as good as Ridge Racer. That is sad. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to this podcast till the end. And again, thank you, Alex, for being in here. And wait, hold on. I'm seeing a car outside, dude. It's red and it has spikes. And
dude, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
No! Fuck! Oh!